in the fence or right down along the apron, but you have two grooves that have been consistently in play amongst the top 10 for at least the last 5 to 10 laps or so.
That tells me that you're looking at a track of extremes here, where you got to kind of throw your hat in one way or the other, and you can't try and sit in the middle and ride the fence, because it's not going to give you an advantage one way or the other. So the guys are doing that probably because those two ways are either you sacrifice one thing to get the other, or vice versa, as it looks like the 10 of Tucker Minter are going to overtake Bowden there for the 5th place now, although he's going to stay beneath Keister. And then up at the front, Bordeaux and Bose are now battling for the lead, as we see on screen.
Two Duval Creative drivers fighting for P1 and trying to scoot away ever so slightly from Cody Bias, who has created a gap. Whether or not it's that fight for 3rd or whether or not these two have started to pick it up, not totally certain just yet, but what we do know is that Bordeaux is up high. Bose will complete the pass down low, and you would expect Bordeaux to cut right across the rear bumper. And, well, you thought he would, and then he decided to tuck in. So maybe that's a change in strategy from Bordeaux, because he certainly had the momentum to go alongside Bose and chose instead not to for the first time really since the green flag dropped.
That was awful close. His spotter was really on it there, because when he drifted up, there was just inches to spare between them. Thankfully, did not make contact. We don't want to see that at this stage. So lap 22, and not seeing any signs of people maybe thinking about trying to do something sneaky with pit stops. So maybe guys just trying to wait until we get either a potential caution or they run out of fuel. And we've seen a lot of hard running here, James. We saw a little bit of hanging back, like you mentioned earlier with the 2nd place guys. That's out the window. So I don't think we're seeing this stint go super long if we stay green. I think they're going to probably be in around lap 33 or 34.
Now that we haven't really seen anyone come in, I think indicates that there aren't really too many believers in the two-stop strategy, and that it's going to be a game of when you pit right around the halfway point at lap 30 or so, and or who in the back of the field decides to run long and maybe catch a yellow flag, because as we start to approach the green flag pit stop, should they come, you will see significant differences in speed between those on fresh tires and those on old tires, and that's something we'll need to be very, very mindful of, because in the past, that alone has caused incidents on track.
Yeah, that's when it's the most dangerous to see cautions. So those who try to pit a little bit early and get those fresh tires and jump some people are going to make themselves vulnerable. It all depends on how desperate you are at this stage to try and make up those positions. Look at the drift off the corner there for Cody Bias. Gets right up to the side of the 04. I love the trust that are between the drivers at this level as well, because you see them willing to take it down to nothing to spare between the cars.
When you look at the drivers here at the back half of the top 10, and you look throughout the top 10, lowest I rating amongst our drivers in that stretch, Joe Pete, Colin Bowden in 7th, who's over 6,000, which is more.
Only 6,000.
Only 6,000, right? So these are all drivers that have plenty of experience in the sim, and when you know that everybody knows what they're doing, at least in general, behind the wheel of a car, you're going to see that give, that take, that trust. That's why the racing has been so good up to now, and why we've seen so many passes as we look on board with one of the best examples of real life and virtual driving combined. Caden Honeycutt, who spent most of his year racing between the Cars Tour and the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, but also was in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series on the sim, and looking to retain his place in the Coke Series for 2023 is the man out of Aledo, Texas.
And that goes back to one of my points earlier about the psychology end of racing. If they've been in the Coke Series and they don't make it that time, that's going to hurt extra hard. You start asking yourself, what did I do different? What did I do wrong? Have I lost it? Am I slower? So they need to get in, because they want to keep that psychological high. If I'm still good enough, I am still worthy of the Cup Series up here.
And yet, there are drivers that come through the Contender Series that just show a blinding amount of pace that might be new to the scene, but maybe faster than some of the old guard. We've seen that in the past few years. Drivers that have been in the Coke Series for 3, 4, 5 consecutive seasons fall out to drivers like Steven Wilson in particular, who was dominant both in the qualifying series and the Contender Series in 2020, and this year jumped up all the way into the championship 4 in the Coke Series. It's sort of the nature of the beast, if you will. Casey Kerwin was only a rookie in 2019, so you look at some of the drivers that are now finding the top of even the Coke Series. It's in a lot of cases newer blood that hasn't necessarily been around and doesn't necessarily have the 8, 9, 10, 11 years of experience running the season.
And experience does count for a lot, but sometimes energy does as well, as we're seeing McKissick get to the bottom side of the 30 here and continue to try to push forward on Honeycutt, because it is a slog. It takes a lot to run a year-long season up at the cup level here at iRacing. So those drivers that have come in and have the talent, they've got that perfect combination of they haven't been mentally worn out of having to fight season after season, and they've got the speed and they've got the strategy. That's why you're seeing that new blood be able to come in and dominate sometimes.
Tonight's broadcast part of an eNASCAR doubleheader. We had the first piece of that earlier this evening here on the East Coast in the United States. The D-Box eNASCAR International iRacing Series, powered by Digital Motorsports, kicked off their campaign for 2022 at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And the next race, you can see at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park as some of the leaders come down pit road. You'll find that broadcast on eNASCAR.com/live at 6 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock GMT. Next week, November 22nd, the only race of that week, as the Contender Series is off for the Thanksgiving holiday in the United States. And for more information on that series, you can visit eNASCAR.com for more. As the series features the drivers of the NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series, the NASCAR Pit Mexico Series, the NASCAR Pit Series out of Canada, and members of NASCAR's Drive for Diversity program, amongst others. Lots of cars now beginning to make their way down at pit road. Boyd Hogan, Seth the Merchant, Ryan Doucette, James Winsell, amongst some of the ones that are coming in. As we remind you that iRacing's Black Friday sale is now online by going to iRacing.com/Black Friday. You can use 50% off of all new memberships and 25% off of renewals and reactivations of 1 year or 2 now through December 1st when you log on to iRacing.com/Black Friday. More cars down pit road as we continue to cycle through green flag pit stops. And for more information on how to start your iRacing career, log on to iRacing.com today. But Derek Bordeaux, the Pied Piper, leading in a lot of the drivers who were in the top 10. Parker White, Caden Honeycutt, the 53 machine, the 20. There's Cody Bias still out on the racetrack as well. But we're waiting for most of the top 20 on track now to come in for what would be the one green flag pit stop.
Yes, and those guys that pitted from up front, again, taking a little bit more risk than I expected, but we're hearing more drivers say they're pitting in. The ones to watch out for are Brown, Holmes, and Navarro. Those are your first 3 that pitted, I believe, on lap 28 or 29 it was. Now we're seeing a whole bunch of them come in. So those that pitted first, they are going to get a jump. They're going to have fresh rubber, have faster laps, but they're also going to be a little bit more worn by the time their rivals come out. So it'll be a question of if they timed it right. And we look at Malik Ray continuing on to lead here from the point, still needing to pit. We need about 10 more cars in.
Worth noting, and you may have caught it just a few moments ago, but Colin Keister was able to make up about 3 car lengths or so entering pit lane. Watch that if he ends up charging back towards the front of the field at the end of the race and we don't get a yellow flag. That could be a very, very big piece of the puzzle in all this as Malik Ray gets it loaded up and he supersedes Ford Mustang. Hence the attention of his pit crew on pit road as to a few more drivers coming in for service. Lots of folks following in behind Malik Ray and just trying to nail down this pit stop as Daniel Smallwood is the last one of 2 drivers who is out on the racetrack and not stopped under the cycle. The other one, Vicente Salas, who came in 30 laps ago, and that may well have been a splash of fuel. We will see where Salas ends up with this and/or if he can stretch it all the way to the end. That could be a very big play for him. But Smallwood, the last driver on pit road, he will come down and just about check up Daniel Buttafuoco, but stay towards the inside, but not actually end up in pit road. And so I would say it's very clear now at this stage that Smallwood is looking for the yellow to gain the track position and come down under that hypothetical for service.
Yeah, the downside for him is he's got nobody trapped a lap down at this point. In fact, that's Mercurio just going by now as we look behind him. And there's going to be quite the field of cars that are looking to run him over in a second. So, yeah, it was worth a shot, but I highly doubt it's going to pay off at this point because I don't think he can go all that much longer. We're on lap 33 to maybe make it about 2 more, maybe 3 more from here.
So all eyes now watching this battle in the mix of things, trying to figure out where these drivers want to sort themselves at. Daniel Falkingham, Taylor Hurst, this is a little bit further back in the field, right around the 30th position. But all these drivers have just come down pit road, and it will be the increments between when these drivers came in for service that will be oh so critical in determining who has the pace at the end of this run, should this go green to the checkered flag.
Remember I mentioned Joey Brown was one of those that pitted early? Well, he's up to 8th right now, 19 position gain from where he started this race as we watch the 32 here still keep it up. And oh, that was a very late call from him, but it does look like he's going to be able to make the line, and that's it.
So Smallwood will come in for service. That should hand the lead over to Vicente Salas as we go back on board with Joey Brown out of Houston, Texas, racing for Victory One, a driver who a long time ago, it seems like, was a participant in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, decided to take a break from the top level of sim racing competition and decided that he wanted to get back into it this year. And did he ever perform and just come out with a resounding, thunderous drive, especially in round 2 of the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing Series, to make it into the Contender Series. Looked incredibly sharp in that. And I would say by all accounts, Joe Pete, that the form he had in the qualifying series second round has carried over to the start of the Contender Series.
Yeah, I'd say so. Not just form, but the brain between the ears there, as he's been using some good strategy. Now, again, his tires are going to be slightly older as we look at Salas, who carries on another lap 36. You said, as we mentioned, it was the first lap of the race that he pitted in. So I don't expect him to make it all that far, and I highly doubt he can get to the end of the race. There's just no way that he can stretch this all the way to the end of 60 laps. So I'm still unsure as to what the ploy is here for Vic, but whatever the case, he is leading the race for now, but he's going to have to pay the piper in pit eventually.
There is a toll and a debt to be paid indeed at some stage here for Vicente, and we will see whether or not the strategy play, penalty, or whatever it might have been, works out for him. The problem, though, is that Parker White is closing fast. The lead is now only 0.7 of a second as we go a little bit further back to look for Colin Bowden, but we are going to have a battle for the race lead. I would think at some point within the next lap or so, as Bowden tries to get to the inside of Joey Brown entering turn 1.
Yeah, he's almost 2 seconds faster, so it's going to be quite easy as we check out Collins' view here back in 10th place. There's a middle line for it that somebody's using, and he's going to drift back up to the outside there off of 2. So maybe it's just on fresh tires that it makes the more sense, as there's the swap for the lead. And Parker White now up to the top spot. Salas probably just going to get swallowed up here. He's got to be careful, because if he does run out of fuel, then he's going to have to make sure that he's got that low line so that he can get into pit lane cleanly.
So it's White, Tucker Minter, Alan Bowes, Derek Bordeaux, and Minter, I would argue, may have been the biggest beneficiary. Had a pretty quick time now pit lane, 43.6 seconds, which was 0.3 up on White, and a full half second faster than Alan Bowes. So goes to show you that a good run down pit road, if you hit your marks and you stop correctly and get your box quickly, you can gain track position. And with a big run, this may well end up being for the man out of Warrenton, Virginia. Watching
from Tucker's roof cam here, we've got a bit of a 4-car breakaway starting up at the front. The one that surprises me is that Keister's not a part of it, because he was so aggressive earlier on. He could still catch up. I mean, he's not exactly out of it, but you'll see in some of the shots, maybe in the background, the number 8 just kind of hovering down in 5th. He's got to make up about half a second to get up to these guys. We're already to 21 laps to go. These are short races, James, so you can't really dilly-dally too long as we look from Parker White. Yeah, you'll be able to see him just behind the 4th place car. There he is.
You want to know the difference between Colin Keister and his compatriots in the top 5? His stop time of 14.8, his pit lane time a 44.5 compared to 14.1s, 0.3s, and 0.5s amongst the rest of the top 5. So it's a half-second difference. You do the math, subtract 0.5 to 14.8, put you on 14.3, which incidentally is the pit stop time that Tucker Minter had when he came down pit road. So good stop for Minter, bad stop for Keister. That's why those two are where they are.
I've been keeping half an eye on Salas ever since, you know, he's gone long. Ah, there we go. Now he's announcing he's pitting in. I was going to say, we're on lap 41. He's stretched this a phenomenal amount, even considering he pitted 1 lap into the race. So I'm really amazed. He essentially went 40 laps on a tank. He must have really soft shoot it that entire first stint.
And in the event we end up with a green-white checker, you know who will be able to stay out and not worry about fuel or tires or any of the above if he wants to? Vicente Salas. He will have all the fuel and tires he needs. Now, he might not necessarily have the best tires, but that is an option that will be in play if we get a late yellow flag. So put that in the memory bank. We may come back to that in some maybe 15 laps or so. Meanwhile, Alan Bowes has jumped back around Parker White. So it's Dead Zone, Norse Force, and Derek Bordeaux also for Dead Zone, racing 1, 2, 3 at the moment for Altus Esports. Tucker Minter sits in 4th, and Colin Keister, another Dead Zone driver, in 5th. Maybe not a surprise to see Dead Zone running as strong as they are in this series, considering how well they took to the next-gen car in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. There was a lot of representation amongst the championship 4 from that team. It's Altus here that I think, in particular, the Tucker Minter, it might be making the noise amongst some of the new blood as we get a good look at Taylor Hurst and company racing for position in the middle of 3.
Yeah, this is Falkingham, Navarro, and Hurst all battling well farther down in the order. They've also got Pfeffer there in front of them, but it looks like they're going to get back to single file. Navarro is interesting because he was one of those that stopped early, but I guess it's not just down to that strategy, but also the pace that you can try and put in with it, as they haven't had as much success climbing through the order as we saw with Joey Brown, who did drop back some. He's down to 17th, but he gained a lot of spots, I have to say, as 33 is going to be able to get to the inside. Looks like Hurst might be able to get this one done. And yeah, that is it down into turn 3. By the way, there is a snag in Salas's strategy if this was intentional for him to go that long. He's a lap down now. So he's got to get that lap back if he hopes to have some sort of good shot. In fact, that's him right there. So speak of the devil, he's going to be able to slip through, but he's got the fresh tires, so he's really going to have to push to try and get up to the leaders.
You'll see Salas coming to your picture there on the bottom of the track, and as they exit turn 2, Alan Bowes, your leader, is just now entering turn 3. So it's about a straightaways distance at this point that Salas has to make up on Bowes to start making something out of the strategy under green, and he'll have fresher tires than everybody else. He will be able to charge through the field better than anybody else, but he will have to unlap himself, then come around, then try and get a lap back on Bowes and White and company, and that is a tall task. So we'll see just what kind of success Vicente Salas has in the closing 15 laps of this third race, 7 of the 2022 eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series.
I have to say, Hurst's onboard cam there makes me feel a little bit better, because if there's one thing that's relatable in sim racing, it's that some sim racers, no matter how good or how not good they are, will lean into the corner against the non-existent G-forces as they race. Even though it doesn't do anything, it just feels right, I guess.
Lots of competition here around 30th. Bray Alfala, Christopher Hill, Andrew Navarro, and Alfala, I know, would have expected more speed out of himself tonight. I think Derek Justice would say the same. This was a track that he really was looking forward to because it is a driver's track with a high horsepower, low downforce car, which is the combination that Ray was driving when he won all those championships in the Coke Series. It has not gone the way he would have liked up to this point. We'll get a good look at the action between Blade Whit and Christopher Pfeffer fighting for the 25th position.
Yeah, really getting close to the back of that 66. And 66 is going to give him a lot of space up on the high side here as we continue to ride on board with a 7. Drifts up pretty high, but has to check up a little bit. Christopher going to get the speed. That's one thing that this track really does well, is it gets that banking just right, that there's enough you can carry that momentum off the high side so that it is still viable. If it was any flatter, probably wouldn't really be an option. But man, it is working fantastic today. We've seen it make a lot of great moves, although he's going to unfortunately get boxed in now behind both Blaze and Blade.
I would imagine that Blade may end up sending, I don't know, it might be a little bit too early for Christmas cookies to Blaze Crawford, but Crawford was able to box in Christopher Pfeffer, who had a run on the high lane and couldn't do anything with it because Whit was up against the fence, and then Crawford was down to his inside. So a little favor there, unintentionally played, as you get a good look off of the rear deck lid. The driver out of Roanoke, Virginia, Blade Whit, who also has prior experience in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. He's been a part of it for the last 2 seasons, looking to make it 3 straight years at the top level of eNASCAR in 2023 via a successful campaign here, currently in the 25th position.
So we're going to hop over to Bowden now. Ooh, that was a bit of a slide off the corner there for somebody. I think that might have actually been Malik Ray there, but we're looking at him chasing Minter there in the 10 as they come back into turn 1. And Bordeaux, remember, he was leading early on this race and looking pretty comfortable, but we haven't seen him back up to the top. Is he now biding his time? Because, wow, there's a good run right there going underneath the 8s, and that's going to answer my question pretty quickly. I do think he has something underneath him.
As we watch all of these drivers slide from the inside to the outside at Auto Club Speedway, we remind you that you can do your own version of sliding by picking up a copy of the new World of Outlaws dirt racing game, which is available now wherever you buy your video games for Xbox One, Xbox Series S, and Series S, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5. A masterful little fun game produced by Monster in cooperation with the folks at iRacing. Lots of fun to play. Ooh. I can say from personal experience, and almost looks like some of these drivers might be trying to take a few cues because they're dropping from the high lanes and the low lane, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing a few slide jobs, as there is Vicente Salas working underneath everybody to try and run down Alan Bowes to get back on the lead lap with 10 laps to go.
Well, they've got the 4 wide salute down. They've done it a couple times now already, and it's getting a little sketchy at this point. There were some drivers that going 3 wide had nothing on either side. If you're in the middle on that, basically you have nothing to help you. One thing that can help you get to racing, though, of course, is the Black Friday sale. Definitely check that out here for iRacing. I took advantage of it myself, honestly. Just renewed and made sure that I got another year's worth on the schedule.
This is the best time of the year to renew your accounts. You do not get a better offer for value amongst memberships across the rest of the calendar years. So if you were thinking about renewing, you do it during the Black Friday sale and you get the most value for your dollar or pound or Canadian dollar or whatever currency you may well use. Black Friday is when you want to do it, no question.
Does Monopoly money count?
I don't know. Maybe we go ask Tony and Steve and Otto and see what they say. That would be a fun one, as we see one driver there up against the wall. I'm not totally sure who that is immediately. Could be Ryan Doucette. I suspected that might have been, but he was close to the fence.
It did look like he was brushing up against it there, and based on his facial reaction, I think maybe he did. But yeah, hard to tell. Does look like the car is a little bit slippery, and we did get confirmation he definitely was up against the fence there. You do not want a damaged car. It needs to be pristine because of the speeds at this track.
Parker White and company trying to run down Alan Bowes, who has stretched his lead all of a sudden. to just about a second, and that number is growing, and White has managed to jump off the front of this group. Tucker Minter leads the pack that you see here just at the very front end of it, and he's even gotten away from Colin Keister a little bit, who is the first in this 5-car fight for 5th through 9th, and Dylan Alt's not too far behind in the 10th position.
Yeah, we're down to 7 to go. This thing has gone by in a flash. No cautions yet. And Bose with a 1.1 second lead. Honestly, James, he's sitting pretty right now. Unless somebody is really playing possum, I just don't see him being overtaken, because at this point you probably would have tried to go after him, because yes, you can pass, but you really don't want to leave it to chance at this stage. And Bose with a gap that big, to me, says he's got the most speed of anybody.
There goes Derek Bordeaux to the inside of Jordy Lopez Jr. That would be for the 6th position if he can complete the pass. Colin Bowden trying to work the fence there to get around Lopez Jr. as well. But Lopez will counter with a move down to the inside as we go on board Dylan Alt, who's just behind this group in the 10th position.
Yep, right now chasing Bias, and there in front of him you can see some side-by-side between Bowden and Bordeaux. Bordeaux on the bottom side in the 04 with the blue, and it looks like going to try and follow him. Dylan Alt attempts to see if that low line works for him, but not as well.
Also of note, Dylan Alt, a competitor in the Contender Series, but he's also been racing for Cal State University Sacramento in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series over the course of the fall. One more race for them in the fall semester at Nashville Super Speedway. The time attacks are now open in the iRacing UI, and your race on November 29th at 8 p.m. Eastern. And you can catch that broadcast on enascar.com/live and all of iRacing's platforms. You can visit enascar.com for more information about the series in general, as we watch the man out of Sacramento try and pull the slide job on Cody Bias to lock down what would be the 9th position. But Bias was able to get to his quarter panel before he was clear, and they'll be door-to-door off into turn 3 now. 4 laps to go here at Auto Club.
Yeah, that was a much better run that time, and it looks like the bottom line, even through 3 and 4, still paying dividends for him, as he might be able to overtake Bordeaux. He's going to be able to get side by side, but the job isn't quite done. Now, I'm curious to see, because we know the 04 is good on the bottom side. Is he going to cover him off when they go into 1 here?
Will he, won't he? Who decides to be brave and drop all the way down to the apron? Alt eventually gets within a half a groove of it, but it wasn't quite enough, and I don't know if it's going to be enough to maintain the spot for the moment. He closes that gap there and gets in front of Bias, locks himself between Bias and Bordeaux, but will Bias decide to try and look for something here in the final 3 laps of this race, or will they try and freight train and maybe just go run down Colorado for 7th?
Final 2 laps now. We are down to 2 to go already. So he is going to try and overtake him, and he does get to the bottom side. 42 just working the low line beautifully at the end, and that's now 8th place. Bowden's not too far ahead. He could maybe take 7th if he can keep this up.
Good battles all over the place. You've got Malik Ray trying to fight Tucker Minter for the final podium spot, but this is the group most closely contesting a fight towards the back end of the top 10 as Alan Bose works his way through the middle of 3 and 4, and we'll take the white flag this time by. Looks like Bordeaux, I think, got a little bit loose, though, in the middle of the corner there, and that might open up the opportunity for Cody Bias to go underneath them as your leaders take the white flag. 1 lap to go at Auto Club Speedway in the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series.
Yeah, I wonder if they've been using everything up here. It's the end of the race. You don't want to leave anything on the table. And the 04 may have just run out of tire and planned it just wrong. But Bose has planned it just right here, James, as he's got 2 corners to go.
All clear all around for Alan Bose, who has done a beautiful job of controlling this race in the final 15 laps or so. And Alan Bose makes his way out of turn 4, and the driver out of Lima, Ohio, racing for Dead Zone and Duval Creative, will take his Toyota Supra to victory lane as the winner of round number 3 of the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series at the virtual Auto Club Speedway. You look at some of the battles a little bit further back. Brian LaPrade was just able to squeak it out over Boyd Hogan. Here's a big run for Ryan Doucette as they all enter back into turn 1 and begin the cool down lap. And bring their way back to pit road. But at the end of this race, this was all Alan Bowes, and it's a 1-2 for Toyota as well. Parker White finishes runner-up.
Yeah, looking down towards the those below the cut, though, I'm seeing some names that we mentioned before that still aren't showing all that well. So there's going to be some nervous faces in the latter half of this very short season, but I don't think Bowes will be one of them.
As Alan Bowes will bring it right underneath the flag stand and burn it down and bring us tonight's winning moment, which as always is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR, and taking advantage of the extra pavement there provided by the logo of the Automobile Club of Southern California to boot. The question is whether or not he'll drive it off into Victory Lane, just on the other side of the grass. This is one of those tracks that has Victory Lane on the front stretch on the other side of the pit wall, so he had the option. I think he's just going to park it there, though, right in the shade and cool off a little bit underneath the flag stand, as we will bring you the full field rundown and tell you where your favorite driver finished. Alan Bowes, winner by just over a second over Parker White. Tucker Minner finishes third. He's the highest finishing driver for Altus Esports. We'll talk to all three of those drivers in just a few moments. Malik Ray and Colin Keister complete the top five. Jody Lopez Jr. was sixth, still in all seventh. Colin Bowden finishes in the 8th position. 9th went to Derek Bordeaux, and Cody Byers completed the top 10 this evening at Auto Club.
Tyler Gary was 11th, followed by Brandon McKissick. Then you've got Wyatt Tinsley in the unlucky number 13. Kevin King finished P14. Casey Tucker was 15th today. Caden Honeycutt finishing in the 16th spot. It was 8 positions up for Briar LaPrade as Boyd Hogan finished 18th. And then 9 up for Daniel Falkingham for 20th. Blaze Crawford rounds out your top 20.
6 spots up for Joey Brown at the end of this. He finishes 21st. 22nd was Seth DeMerchant. Ryan Doucette, after that late bobble and smack with the fence, ends up in 23rd. Ray Alfala, 24th. A nice little rebound for him after being a little bit deeper in the field, middle of this race. Taylor Hurst was 25th. Blade Witt finished in the 26th position. 27th went to Christopher Hill. Derek Justice finished in 28th. Jonathan Delaney and Christopher Pfeffer completed the top 30.
From there on down, it was Daniel Buttafuoco in 31st. You've got Michael Cozy Jr. 32nd and Brendan Kohler in 33rd. Andrew Navarro, who pitted early, didn't see that pan out. He wound up 34th. Daniel Smallwood, who pitted late, also didn't see it pan out. He was 35th. Wenzel, Mercurio, and Holmes were followed by Salas, who did get back onto the lead lap, but he had an extra pit stop compared to everybody else. So looks like I do believe we've got our second place finisher ready to talk to us. Parker White's here. We'll see what he has to say and if he feels like he had anything for Alan there at the end, because Parker, it looked like with that 1 second gap with about 10 to go, if you had it in you, would have tried to catch him down, but we never saw you got closer than that. Was that all you had?
Yeah, that was all I had. I was just battling a really ill-handling race car that whole time. I had no center turn, so I really just had to force it to turn. I really couldn't find that much speed, but I was able to actually find some really good speed on that second lane of 1 and 2. So just really happy I was able to play this race out right, because I'd kind of struggled with qualifying, but I was able to qualify good and just pick up a few good spots and just get a good finish.
Now, we kind of anticipated this was going to be either long green flag runs or a completely green flag run here. Is that what you expected, with it obviously winding up that being the situation tonight?
Yeah, like just the way these races have been in the past, there's like, I'm pretty sure last year there was only 7 yellows in the entire series. So, yeah, that's kind of what I expected. We strategized before the race. We got some adjustments for the pit stop, and that helped me out a lot because I was able to have some short run speed. I got around Tucker for the net race lead there for a while. Then Alan just got by me there, and I just stayed in second there. So it's a really good race for me overall, so I'm happy with it.
Obviously, Nashville is up next, and we have quite a unique schedule throughout the course of the season. No really 2 tracks are alike. How do you feel for the rest of the season? Do you think we'll see more of all that green flag racing? Because I look at places like Darlington, those are pretty tough to try and keep out of trouble.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of green flag racing. We'll probably see a couple cautions here and there, but for the most part, it'll probably be green, and there's a lot of good racetracks left, so I'm looking forward to it.
Well, regardless, congratulations on a podium here today, Parker, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you more as it goes on this winter.
All right, thank you.
Parker White there in the 95. As up next, we've got our winner, Alan Bowes, ready to chat with us. And Alan, it basically looked like it all came down to those pit stops and then running at that good second stint. Nobody could catch you. How confident did you feel after that pit stop?
After the pit stop, coming out right behind those guys, felt pretty good with the fresher tires, and our long run pace was pretty solid all night. So yeah, I mean, even going into the race, I felt pretty good about it. So this is one of my better tracks.
I take it seemed like you were kind of playing patient there early in the race because we saw you hovering in third while the top two kept swapping the lead back and forth. Was that the case? That were you just kind of just saving your stuff there in the first stint, letting them kind of play it out?
Yeah, they seemed like they wanted to race pretty hard there early, so I figured I would just wait, kind of let them do their thing. It kind of worked out. They kind of burnt their stuff off a little bit, and I was able to get back around them. But yeah, that patience was key, as it usually is at Auto Club, because these races tend to go green. So uh, the longer the run, more patient you want to be at the early stages of it.
Now, you weren't in a dire situation on the points, but taking this win is really going to give you a nice boost. Do you feel better about the rest of the season now that you've notched a W?
Yeah, I was looking more forward to Nashville than I was Auto Club. So based on what we have left, I feel pretty good about it. Obviously, the win is pretty big with the drop week that we have. So yeah, I just got to keep knocking off the good points finishes. Hopefully, a couple more wins. That'd be kind of nice. But I just got to keep doing what I'm doing.
Indeed. And again, congratulations. That was an excellent drive, Alan.
Thank you.
Alan Bowes, your winner in the number 21 this evening here at Auto Club. Finally, we've got Tucker Minter with us with a third place. He already came in fifth in points. Tucker, just knocking them down, keeping yourself in solid contention, which I guess that's the best you could ask for this season.
Yeah, I mean, the Contender Series is all about points and just stacking up, or as Steve Letarte, I guess, would say, filling the points bucket up. So that was the goal coming in this week, especially after poor finish last week, just to get back in the top 20 and make some more points towards that goal.
Now, late in the runs, we were seeing a lot of drivers going to extremes, either bottom or top. We didn't see many middle runners. What do you think was going on there that drivers tended to navigate to navigate towards the two far ends of the track there?
Yeah, with the way the rubber's laid down, it seemed like towards the end of the race that you could kind of run more towards the middle, but at the beginning, there's just so much grip if you're running right next to the wall, but it's so hard on your tires. But then it's better on your tires if you run the bottom, so it's really difficult, but it was a lot of fun tonight just trying to juggle, trying to figure out how much to save your tires and for how long, and then when you wanted to move up top and try to make some spots up.
Well, again, thank you, Tucker, and congratulations with a podium. James, back to you.
Really strong runs the last few weeks from Tucker Minter, no question about it. As we start to turn the page here from Auto Club, here's a quick look at the updated standings and where everybody is. We are keeping our eyes up across the standings, and worth noting that Vicente Salas's drop would kick in tonight. He finished dead last to the grid, so he doesn't have any margin for error like he used to, but by virtue of those strong runs at Phoenix and Homestead, Miami still has the points lead. Tucker Minter jumping up to third in points, and then here's a good look at all the drivers that are right on the edge of trying to make it. You look a little bit further back, the Wenzels, the Myers, the Smallwoods. I truly believe at this point now you really do need to start going at Nashville in 2 weeks' time if you want to have a realistic shot of making it into the Coke Series for 2023.
Absolutely. And like I said, it's a very varied schedule. And here we get a look at Nashville Superspeedway, which the name kind of belies itself because it's a lot shorter than most of the other superspeedways. It is fast, though, but it's also concrete. So there's not much else like it out there. And they'll have to prepare for that November 29th race. And I'm sure they're going to be using this little vacation time to try to get that extra bit of practice in.
Make a good point there, but we are off next week. It is the eNASCAR International iRacing Series from D-Box and Digital Motorsports that takes center stage on Thanksgiving week in the United States. But we are back in 2 weeks' time, 9 p.m. Eastern on iRacing's channels from the virtual Nashville Superspeedway for round 4 of the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series. A big congratulations to Alan Bowes from all of us here and for our team at iRacing and my colleague in the booth this evening, Joe Peak. I am James Pike. Thank you so much for watching iRacing's broadcast of the eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series, and we will see you in 2 Tuesday nights' time from the virtual Nashville Superspeedway.